that support. Please see Yovenia Lopez. Bienvenidos a la reunión de la Junta Directiva de PVUSD. Disponemos de rendición en español. Si necesita este apoyo, consulte a Yovenia Lopez. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded. If someone would like to speak to an item on the agenda, they must complete a speaker card and submit it to Alicia Jimenez. Prior to the agenda item, once an item has begun, cards will not be accepted for that item. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with the total time for public input on each agenda item to 30 minutes maximum. So, and there may be differences of opinion, sometimes strong differences. Please give those speaking the same respect that you would like to receive when you are speaking. This will allow everyone to be heard and the board to conduct its necessary business. I also want to remind everyone the adoption of the Governing Board of Education of PVUSD's established and adopted meeting norms. I will now move us to item 3.2, the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask Trustee Flores to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. I will now move us to item 3.3, our superintendent comments. We will now hear from our superintendent of PVUSD schools, Dr. Heather Contreras, who will make a few comments.
Good evening, everyone. I am choosing to use my superintendent comments this evening to have Mr. Michael Berman, Ms. Brooker, and Alicia Jimenez speak to us about a really exciting event that we are kicking off in the next couple of weeks. So if you will come to the podium, that would be amazing.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent Contreras. It is a pleasure to be here before you, and I would like to pass this over to the teacher who initiated this whole movement last year, and that is Ms. Brooker from Pajaro Valley High School, who has inspired a few students from the Black Student Union as well. She's going to take us through these few slides and talk about the Ruby Bridges National Walk to School Day. So, thank you. Welcome, Ms. Brooker.
Thank you, everyone. Dr. Contreras, thank you so very much. Well, as everyone can see, and I really appreciate this time, the district, as I invited the district to please be able to celebrate this, tomorrow, November the 14th, marks the National Ruby Bridges Walk to School. And the students have gotten together with Dr. Contreras and has met with other teachers, and they are put together an anti-bias campaign where it's anti-bias and anti-racism. There are different parts to these slides. They talk about who Ruby Bridges is. I guess we're going to go and see the vision and the mission of the school district. But this is what we did last year. That's a picture from last year. And this year we're going to actually be walking across the bridge to Pajaro Valley High School. That was a vision our own principal, Todd Wilson, had, which I'm so humbled and grateful. And next slide, please. And so, who is Ruby Bridges? Many of you learned about her. She was 6 years old when she had to be escorted to school by federal marshals. Now, I want to make a remark. If you go back to the one we just saw, one of the students looked at this and she said, "Ms. Brooker, were they just basically protests, but they were racially charged and brutal protests?" Where parents even brought a coffin with the little girl in it. And I'm telling you, once we get rid of racism, everything will be fine. This one I did. Okay. And so why do we celebrate this day? So that we can remember to treat everyone fairly, no matter who they are. Ruby Bridges represents the bravery and equality and change. This walk is a reminder of the importance of equal access to education and the ongoing fight for justice. And When the students remember this, it encourages them to reflect on how they can contribute to a more inclusive community. And so these are more pictures from us from last year of what happens on the Walk to School Day. Schools all across PVUSD and the nation organize to walk, and it symbolizes unity and inclusion. It's a day to reflect on civil rights and engage in meaningful conversations about equity and humanity. And it promotes walking or biking to school to stay active and build community. So how can we get involved? Well, many schools here in this district and in Santa Cruz County are going to participate tomorrow. There's a video that I was able to share, and Alicia put here so beautifully highlighting the November 14th, 1960 experience of Ruby Bridges and the courageous action that began desegregations in schools. And social media awareness has been spread. And my students asked me about this, and I kind of put it in a nutshell and told them, with my beautiful brown skin, I might not have been able to be a teacher if she hadn't have been brave enough to do what she did. And the kids were like, oh, Miss Booker. And so she continues to be a strong advocate. Everyone, Ruby Bridge turned 70 on September the 8th. And so she has a foundation. And I think I mentioned to you all, I tried to contact her and her publicist about three or four times. I'm still going to try. Maybe she'll come next year, who knows. This is her foundation in the home where she lives in New Orleans. And it promotes tolerance, respect, and appreciation of people's differences. And her education foundation strives to end racism. She says that my message is really that racism has no place in the hearts and minds of our children. So this is how we began last year. And students, we all got together to write what we believe here. We endeavor to celebrate this annually. To empower students to be the change, all students to be the change that we all wish to see in the world. PV High School has the trailblazer spirit since we started it, and to build on the knowledge and to reflect on people understanding their prejudices and their bias. And so, we started it last year, we're going to participate in it tomorrow, and hopefully this is something that will continue to be happening every single year.
Thank you. Now we are going to have Mr. Berman. Absolutely. We're excited for this event, and we're going to have Mr. Berman share a little bit about...
I'm sorry, Dr. Contreras. Dr. Ferris Sabaz, a representative from the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. Dr. Ferris Sabaz, who is our superintendent of all Santa Cruz County, will be at the walk tomorrow. And this is Andres Ortiz, who is here to support, and he will be here also. Sorry, I just wanted to
that's wonderful. I am glad. That was good to share. So we're going to have our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Michael Berman, share a little bit about how the students came alongside Ms. Brooker to envision this as a kickoff for a Kindness and Courage campaign. So go ahead.
And just really briefly, there were a few things happening all at the same time, and it seemed like a great moment to launch something inspired by a few things, especially the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day and Ms. Brooker and her students. We were getting information around a lot of racist slurs and bias, and wanted to do something. And we took it to Daniel Escada and the group that he works with at the the superintendent's what is it called? Inner High Council, sorry. And they came up with having a campaign with the slogan being kindness and courage. And it's a multifaceted thing. There's going to be a social media launch led by them. At the same time, there's a class of 11th graders in Bridget Fanton's class at PV High School where they've been really looking at diving into language and also anti-bias, anti-racism curriculum and building their own and building their lessons. So one thing that's going to be happening coming soon is on November 22nd, we're going to have students from Aptos and Watsonville High come to PV High kind of observe these lessons in action. They designed 6 lessons for this day. There for each period of the day, and it's going to be led by teachers and students who created this material. The students from the other high schools are then hopefully going to be taking it back to their schools. We're going to be creating a coalition of our students that are then going to regularly meet and develop the campaign, which will then go to our middle schools and high schools. The idea being that it's not a one-time thing, it's not a celebration of one day. This is the launch tomorrow, but the goal is an ongoing and sustaining movement around love and acceptance and anti-bias and anti-racism. And it's bringing, Claudia and I got to go into the classroom and talk to the students, and it brought us to tears that our students are leading this, and it's a lovely thing, it's beautiful, and I hope we can see you at this next event. Also, it's going to be happening all throughout the district. The heart of it, of course, is at PV, walking across the bridge. Thank you, Ms. Brooker, and everybody involved. Thank you very much.
Dr. Contreras and your team. We'll now move to item 3.2, governing board comments and reports and standing committee meetings. This is the opportunity for each board member to make a few comments, and we'll start with our student trustee.
Thank you, President Acosta. Pajaro Valley concluded their senior nights for students competing in sports, as well as several teams making it to CCS playoffs. PV will be hosting its annual Ruby Bridges Walk tomorrow, with lots of students and staff planning to attend. The absence of lights on the field has made it difficult for students to play winter sports, with students being forced to leave class earlier than expected. And similar to PV, Aptos concluded their senior nights with many teams advancing to CCS playoffs. Aptos' Student Senate will begin within the next few weeks, and they hope to create a bigger impact than the previous year. And tomorrow, Aptos will be hosting their annual Empty Bowls fundraiser for the second Harvest Food Bank. The bowls used for the food will be made from the ceramic students, and the food will be made from the culinary arts students. And last year, Aptos raised over $3,000 from this event. Watsonville High is beginning to prep for winter sports in a winter wonderland workshop, which allows students to do arts and crafts, cookie decorating, ornament decorating, and gingerbread houses. The lack of restroom access has been an ongoing issue for students around campus. And Pacific Coast Charter School expressed their frustration with the principal being moved to a different school, resulting in a stand-in principal. Many staff members and counselors have left, resulting in freshmen and juniors losing an English teacher and a variety of other classes. And lastly, during the last meeting, I voiced concerns about the comments made by Vice President Soto that many, including students and community members, came across as dismissive and harmful. His direct response to me was once again a clear violation of the governing board handbook. I filed a complaint not because I see conflict, but because I believe in the standards we've set in our governance handbook. Standards built on respect, empathy, and accountability. We as a board must lead by example. When one of us falters, it is essential that we address it transparently and constructively, holding ourselves to the same expectations we set for our students and our community. I want to make it clear, this is not about personal disagreements, politics, endorsements, or civics. It's about ensuring that we maintain a culture where respectful discourse prevails over disparaging remarks, especially those remarks impacting people we're here to represent. Leadership requires accountability at every level, and that includes acknowledging when words or actions fall short of our core values. Moving forward, my goal remains the same, to serve our students and community by fostering a board environment built on integrity, empathy, and transparency. I urge all of us, myself included, to do better, to uphold the trust that our students and community have placed in us, and to work together in a way that exemplifies the respect and dedication we expect in our schools. Thank you.
Trustee DeSerpa.
That was beautiful, Daniel. Thank you for your remarks tonight. I'm going to defer most of my time, but I did attend Pajaro Valley Prevention and Student Assistance. It was a great meeting, and they're doing really beautiful things, and we're happy to be partners with them. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeSerpa. Trustee Dr. Navarro.
I also wanted to echo the sentiment. I really appreciate your words, Daniel, and you're such a strong advocate for yourself. I really look forward to seeing what you do next week. I since I recently joined the board, reached out to the Aptos Junior High principal to meet with her and discuss challenges. My goals in the next several months is to try to visit as many of our sites as possible so that I can learn about the individual schools and where their needs and challenges are, what they feel like they're doing right, and what where they struggle and need more, so that I can help Dr. Contreras with that information. I know you visit all the schools, but people may say different things to you than they might say to me. So I think my goal is to try to collaborate with the superintendent and the board members, and I'm still in my informational gathering stage. I've also had some members of the public reach out to me to express their viewpoints in regards to CRE studies, and right now I'm just trying to learn as much as possible. But I really continue to enjoy this position, and the more I get into it, and I look forward to serving all of you.
Thank you, Trustee Dr. Navarro. Trustee Flores.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I didn't have any standing committee meetings since the last board meeting, so I don't have a lot to report tonight, but I do want to say thank you to any veterans that we have within our PVUSD family. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. And I wanted to note that I had the honor of attending meetings with Dr. Heather Contreras and beginning and continuing conversations with our community partners for PVUSD, CTE pathways, and other educational pathways. And I'm so looking forward to the expansion in this area for our students and what Dr. Contreras and her team will do going forward with these opportunities and conversations. And I want to also recognize and especially thank Julie Edwards, coordinator for career technical education, and all her continuing hard work in this area, expanding CTE pathways and other pathways for our students. And I also want to echo with Trustee Flores in honor of Veterans Day, having been on Monday, to recognize all the men and women who have served in our military, including honoring and recognizing our very own Vice President Trustee Soto for his years of service in our U.S. military and his continued years of service here in our community. With that, I will now take us to item 3.5, the Red Apple Award, which will be presented by our Public Information Officer, which will present, Ms. Jimenez will present our Red Apple recipients for the following areas: for certificated, classified, and administration.
Thank you. Always an honor to be here to present this award, and I have something for the audience to see, and you can read along with me. If you can move to the next one. Oh, I have it. So just as a reminder, staff here is nominated by peers who embody a PV, and they are nominated because they embody a PVUSD core value. The Board of Education has established the following core values for PVUSD: excellence, integrity, resilience, empathy, unity, grace, courage, and faith. And we are honored to celebrate those who inspire and support and uplift our students. The classified staff is Maricela Vargas. She's a SELPA employee. And Maricela's here with us. And I'm just going to read here. This is what they said about Maricela. She's a hard worker, friendly with kids and staff. She's responsible and active, and she embodies empathy. Congratulations.
Yes, 4 minutes. Yeah. Ma? Yeah. That's my daughter. Oh, that is sweet. That's awesome. ¿Ya? Sí, señora, pase. Venga, sí, ma. Gracias, thank you. Thank you.
Our next honoree is a certificated staff member, Kendra Morley. Is she here today? Kendra Lynn embodies resilience, courage, and integrity each and every day when serving her students with IEPs. She has created a classroom community full of trust, empathy, compassion, and hard work. All kids at the school wish they could be with Kendra throughout the day, as she is relatable and builds pillars of trust within the school and student community. Kendra Lynn works every morning with the Breakfast Club, building Legos with the students, and coaches our middle school sports team every day. She embodies what a true chameleon should act and be like. And today we honor her for embodying courage. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Kendra.
Next, we have the administrator honoree, Ms. Karen Lane, principal at Valencia. Karen is a leader who exemplifies inclusion and support. She works to make her staff feel supported and supports all students and stakeholders to feel a part of the Valencia community. Ms. Karen Lane is honored for representing unity.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm going to try this way. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all the winners and all the nominated staff as well.
All right. I'll now move us to item 4.1, the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to approve. I have a first. Can I have a second? I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will carry 403. I'll move to item 5, approval of minutes. Item 5.1, approval of the October 17th, 2024 board meeting minutes. Can I have a motion? Motion to approve. Can I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will carry 403. Item 5.2, approval of the October 21st, 2024 board meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second. I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will carry 403. 5.3, approval of the October 23rd, 2024 board meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Second. I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? That'll carry 403. And I will now move us to item 6, action on report on closed session, item 6.1, and we do have items to report out of closed session. I have closed session item 2.2. I move to approve the certificate of personnel report as presented by district administration on November 13th, 2024 with 20 and 5 additional action items. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? That'll carry 403. Closed session item 2.3. I move to approve the classified personnel report as presented by district administration on November 13th, 2024 with 19 and 6 additional action items. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will carry 403. In closed session on item 2.7, a settlement agreement for a special education student was approved with a vote of 403. That is our report out of closed session. I will now move us to item 7.1. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address issues that are not on our agenda for this evening. Please know that the Bound Act prohibits the board from engaging in discussion for any non-agendized items. And we do have public speakers, so I will call up the following. If you can please line up in that order. Bill Beecher, Jeremy Sanford, Martha Flores, Christine Hong, Omar Diaz, Tanya Hernandez, Mark Mendoza, Matt Lau, Eli Davies, Chris Webb, Gabriel Barza, and Dr. Terraza. Oh, and I forgot to make in my, Eva, if you could go back in my opening comments, I forgot to note for the public record that Trustee Vice President Soto does have an excused absence from this evening's meeting. If you could report that on my report now. Thank you. All right, now we will move to 7.1.
Good evening. I want to talk about our attendance. Where have they gone? Well, we all have talked about birth rates, especially among the third and fourth generation Hispanics. It's very low. We're seeing a more than 4% drop in elementary incoming per year. But here's what the graph looks like over the last 5 years, both the Hispanic and the PVUSD. Pretty much the same because we're dominated by Hispanics. That's not our problem. Well, this guy's not working. It's not just a Hispanic problem. PVUSD is losing other groups at an alarming rate. Here's another graph, same graph, but here's what's happening to whites, Filipinos, Asians, and blacks over the last 5 years. They're leaving our district. Where are they going? We've got over 2,000 students in the private and charter schools nearby. They're leaving us because we're not getting our job done. So, we need to know why. Is it the overemphasis on bilingual education? Are classes dumbed down to accommodate English language learners? And I'll talk about this later in another item. We do not know and need to. These are our best students and we're losing them and we need to know why. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Sanford. I'm a professor of molecular biology at UC Santa Cruz and also the head coach of the men's and women's rugby teams at UC Santa Cruz. Today I'm speaking to you as the acting president of a newly formed nonprofit called the Monterey Bay Rugby Association. Our goal is to grow rugby across the Monterey Bay region to create, by facilitating access for our kids and adolescents across the Bay to learn the fundamentals and play this great game. Our broader goal, though, is to create a pathway for your students, right, to be able to engage or get access to higher education by creating near-peer mentoring opportunities with students from UC Santa Cruz and CSUMB to Hispanic-serving institutions of higher learning. Why rugby? Well, rugby is a game that's for everybody. Big kids, little kids, tall, fast, slow, small, boys, girls, it doesn't matter. There's a split. It's the most inclusive game that there is out there in terms of team sports. I think rugby is built upon values that are really critical for our society. Values like integrity, passion, discipline, respect, and solidarity are critical tenets of this game. Rugby, in my opinion, having coached rugby for 15 or 20 years now, it develops courage, character, and commitment. We see that in the kids that we've taught. And those are key ingredients for building successful people. Finally, rugby is one of the fastest growing team sports in the U.S. There's over 50,000 kids playing today across California and all over the U.S. That's a 15% increase year over year. And, lastly, I think for your district, it's probably a source of revenue when we look to rent fields and things like that. The other key point is the Rugby World Cup is coming in 2031-33. So we'd love to be able to find student athletes from this region that can represent our country in this great tournament. So what do we need from you? Well, we're hoping eventually to get introductions to PE teachers, to athletics directors, and to hopefully build relationships that will allow us to potentially rent facilities, so maybe consider approving facilities requests, and eventually we'd like to see rugby in the schools. Thank you.
This is not a moment. For 2 years I've come here and I've addressed the budget and the need to have accountability. This past year I've experienced marginalism, #MeToo, ageism, bullied, intimidation, PVUSD attack, and toxic fume exposure. I had no summer. I was ill the whole summer. Yet you presented you addressed the Williams complaint report. I want to talk about the report that you presented. There was no file. Well, look at this auditorium. Right now it's warm. We pack students 2 to 3 classes in here, and there's no heat. The lighting, look how dim it is for students who wear glasses. But for us right now, it's comfortable. The other thing for Williams that needs to be addressed is the nurse's office, where it takes up to 3 weeks to have vomit or blood cleaned up. We need to address these needs that are not being filed with Williams. Parents don't know how to file the Williams Act because they rely on principals. They address it with principals, but when principals don't take action, that becomes a problem, and that was a problem with my child last year, and it still has not been addressed, and I've talked about it here. The budget. Here's the budget for this year. I looked at it, and I'm going to leave it here for Dr. Contreras so you can look at it, and maybe we can have a meeting and you can address it to me and explain to me some of these things on how do they align with the CIPSA and the school and the Common Core standards. I need explanation because I don't see it in many of these things. The other thing for my site here at EAHO is the bylaws when it comes to school site council. If there's no quorum, we can't have a vote, but we've had votes. And some items have been passed, like $12,000 to be used with no quorum by voting selected people to be part of the making decision. In other words, the members who vote for the quorum. So I can say more, but I will end in a positive. I will leave this for you, Dr. Contreras. This is club chair. I hope everyone saw it in the newspaper. Every year, club chair participates in Mi Casa es Tu Casa for Dia de los Muertos. And it's a beautiful image of one of the works from our students here at EAHO School.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. Please leave your items with the staff at the front table. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Omar Diegues, Barrios Unidos. First of all, I want to say that this last Sunday we had a Peace and Unity March here in Watsonville that's been going on for 31 years. Started off when the death of Jessica Cortez and George Cortez, both 15, and his sister was 9 years old, was shot down in Pajaro. That whole Peace and Unity March was started by the Brown Berets and by the students in our community. And one thing I could say, it was disappointing not to see any of our school board members there. This march is very important to the community, and I think that we need to stand together in the community to show that we support each other. The other thing that I would like to address is you know, with this new administration coming into our country, with the threats of deporting our immigrant community, we need to make sure that we make our students feel safe, and that we address these issues in the schools with them. The only thing that came good out of this whole election was the election that was held here with the school board. And I don't mean it in no mean way, but when the community speaks, you guys need to listen to the community, because the community does work and does come together. The only good that came out of the actions that this board has shown was that the community came together closer, stronger, and was ready to unite and organize. And they've proven when they speak, their voice is heard. So it's important that as school board members, please, when there's issues in our community, that you guys please take time to pull the community to the side and sit down with them and get to know what's going on in our community, because we are the voice, and we will continue to come back and fight for what we believe is right. Thank you.
Kim DeSorba, you may not be sitting there come January, but I do want to say something, because you got something rolling last fall, and it was unjust then, and after a year of genocide, the injustice is only magnified. It's amplified for all to see. This is a season, we're in for a long season of repression, but there's already been repression here locally. And in the year since you basically put to the side, without support, adequate support, the CRE contract, what has happened? Over 42,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed. There is no access to clean water. Children are licking puddles to get adequate hydration. There has been targeting of humanitarian food relief. There has been the capturing, imprisonment, and torture of healthcare workers, including rape. Over 900 Palestinian healthcare workers have been murdered. Hospitals have been bombed. And some of these healthcare workers have been found with their arms bound behind them. 70% of those who are killed are women and children. What is our educational opportunity, our obligation after this kind of year? As people of conscience, I do want to ask that. Gil Stein, who supported you, has the distinction of winning an award for being Israel's spokesperson outside Israel. He has stated that he doesn't agree with 99% of the people here. This is 90% Latinx community. It's really offensive. Another person who has supported you is Roz Schornstein. She stated that I was committing blood libel by stating that there was a genocide happening. You know that South Africa also has labeled what is happening, what Israel is doing, a genocide.
Ms. Hong, that is your time. Your time is up. Ms. Hong, your time is up.
History will judge you, Kim. History will judge you. I want you to think about this past
Next speaker,
year.
come up. Thank you, Ms. Hong. Next speaker.
I'm so glad to be here. It is such a pleasure.
Your time is up. Next speaker. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tony Hernandez. And I'm Cynthia Garcia. And we're here to speak about the transportation crisis in our district. And we're here representing Renaissance Continuation High School. Since the beginning of this year, there's been 14 days where multiple bus routes have been canceled. We hear that the new superintendent's focus this year is on attendance, but we don't hear anything about trying to fix the transportation issue.
Many students are deciding to stay home because they don't know if the bus will show up or not. This is directly affecting attendance. Parents are also impacted, risking their jobs, having to always leave work to pick us up. We notice cancellations are usually Fridays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. Our school is out of town limits in La Selva Beach, so it makes it more difficult than for students within city limits. We also know this isn't just happening at our school, but throughout the district. We are sure there are many reasons why this is happening, but we feel This should be priority in the district if you want to improve attendance. It seems like it has gotten worse than last year. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Margaret Mendoza. I understand you've heard my name a lot. Thank you. I understand you've heard my name a lot. You've heard my voice, our voices, but you still chose to place deaf. I've said this before and I won't say it again. We won't back down until our voices are heard. The fight isn't over until we win. I recently had a conversation with my friends. I retold everything happening at the board meetings until now. You know what they said? It's unfair how people who don't even attend our schools or have children in the district have so much power over us. I heavily agree with them, and I hope soon our board will have members that will stand with the community and not against it. I hope you understand that no matter in what position of power you stand, we will fight for what's right. My friends couldn't be here today, and I'm proud of them for the countless of times they skipped homework and projects just to speak up for our community. To the board members who brought us down during this time, thank you for teaching me an example of a board we don't want. I'm sure we will have an actual functioning board we want to, and not a disappointing board. Bring back CRE, listen to our community. Thank you.
Hi board, here again, Nat Lowe, Area 7. It's been over a year since I came to this board, and to be honest, I didn't expect to still be here today, but you all made it necessary, so here I am. I actually made parts of this comment in February, but I'm bringing it up again because I think it's even more relevant now than it was then. So why have we all come here week after week, month after month? We have come here because of our students, and in turn our students have shown up for themselves and for each other. Through the board's words and actions, and specifically how your actions fail to line up with your words, you taught our students how systems of power work in ways that directly impact them. You taught them how 7 people in power, against the overwhelming desires of the students, parents, teachers, and the broader community, can deny them the ethnic studies education that they deserve, based on false accusations from just a few people with no children in PVUSD schools. You taught our students what it feels like to be disempowered by the system of public education. At the same time, we who show up here month after month are collectively showing our students what it takes to challenge systems of power, to speak up, to organize, and to never give up. And this is especially needed practical education that is especially important today. Ethnic studies, as you may recall, was born because students organized, took to the streets, and challenged the people in power in their places of learning to get the education they deserve. Our students deserve to have an authentic ethnic studies education. They deserve to have a school board that will listen to them, and we will continue to make sure that they do. We'll never, we're going to keep being here, not going away. So voted them out, bring back CRE.
Good evening, board. Similarly, it is my 1-year anniversary of coming here. My nephew and niece are in the PVUSD schools. We have heard from, over the course of time, board members saying we follow the lead of the superintendent, and the superintendent saying we follow the lead of the board or the president. And now we are showing you that you follow the lead of the community. And that is why everyone who had a seat is now voted out. Fingers crossed. No offense, Scal, he's not here. Another question, what's with the venue change constantly? Is there a problem with the board room that you have? I am just noticing that this is not the most ADA accessible venue, and that all these things need to be kept in mind when you're doing that, when you're changing locations, when you're making it harder for working parents to come here. Finally, great work on the anti-racism campaign. Thank you, Dr. Navarro, for looking into what's going on at Aptos High and Aptos Junior High. Our neighbors have personally had their child experience racism at Aptos Junior High, and didn't know who to go to, didn't know how to address it. This is a big problem within Aptos, and it needs to be addressed. Finally, again, most of this board is on its way out, but bring back CRE. This movement is here because it matters. The people want it because it matters. And the board had the opportunity to integrate a really special program to keep it all running within the school that no one actually had a problem within this curriculum. And it's just a big waste.
Good evening, board. I reviewed the last board meeting several times, and I actually couldn't hear an endorsement from Trustee Esqueda. What I heard was you basically requesting consistency with stated values, and I think that's laudable, and I thank you for leading by example. Also, I wanted to say that how much I've appreciated our TOSAs this year. I know for me, I started a new curriculum, and I thankfully have had TOSAs to help me. I feel like they'll help me also in pursuing professional development within this district, specifically with respect to the seal of civic engagement. I do worry a little bit about them in light of all the budget talks, and then just the nature of their position. My concern is that they are prone to being basically messed with in their positions, and I worry about that and the effect that it could have on our larger staff. I want to thank Trustee Dr. Navarro for her comments related to school site councils. I know exactly how you feel at Renaissance. I remember last year that I let the principal just go with it. Nobody came. I did my thing, was able to get people there, and then I felt kind of like they were swindled in a way because I provided a quorum, they were able to quickly advance a project that wasn't really discussed. There was a lot. The parents who came didn't know that they would be making like a $100,000 decision that day, and I feel like we need to really look at the process. This would be a great time to have like student organizations inform these processes, and then take that to site council. And then also, how are we doing outreach? So that's always been a problem with like new admin there, is they don't always know how to do outreach, and it can't just be like a machine. Like that's where the advisor model really helped, because you were more connected to the families. Also, I just want to say additionally, I am for nice schools. I just believe that there's more genuine pride in programs than in pain. Thank you.
Gabriel Braza, Area 5. And I just wanted to say that it's been a long year. We've been coming here for a year, talking about CRE. This was the issue that got us involved. But Dr. Alison Tintiango Cubales said that ethnic studies is not just an academic discipline. Ethnic studies started in the community. It's about the community. It's about how marginalized communities navigate systems of power. And because of the undemocratic processes of this board over the past year regarding the CRE contract, you saw ethnic studies in action. And now you get to go home and sit down and hopefully think about why that happened. For the people who remain on the board, you need to, as I said many, many months ago, choose whether you want to stand with the community or stand against the community. Now, I'm under no illusions. I mean, you see what happened nationally. Money can buy you a lot. Even locally, money can buy you a lot. But over time, money does not beat the power of the people. There are way more people that don't have money than people who do. And if we can build solidarity and bring the community together on issues that are important, this will happen. None of us here are going away. We've activated something in this community that we plan to continue. And so again, for those of you remaining on the board, you need to think about whether you stand with the community or whether you stand with the systems of power that are in place right now.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Barraza, and as my sign says, the community has spoken. Here is roar, we are people power. And Acosta, your time is up. So hopefully with this new board, the community will actually be heard again. You tried every trick in the book to try to silence us, to try and intimidate us. It didn't work. And thankfully, you will be replaced. So that makes up all the effort that we put worth our time. For the rest of the board members, I hope you learned from what you saw. Because just because we got rid of these 3 doesn't mean we won't get rid of 3 more. So I hope that when the community comes and brings you issues, that you actually listen to them. And we're not saying that you have to agree with this, we're just saying discuss it. You refused to even bring it up for a discussion. That was the issue. You didn't even bother to discuss and engage with us. That's silencing the community. When you're the one that had the power to allow us to do that, you chose not to. So we chose to replace you. The other thing I want to say is I was really, really appalled that none of the adults on this board said anything to protect Daniel. Our student trustee is actually very courageous to come and actually speak his mind with a bunch of adults. And one adult was cowardly enough to attack him. It was ridiculous. I could not believe that this grown man who claimed to have a thick skin had the thinnest skin I've ever seen. And to have not one single trustee here say, hey, you know what, Soto, you're out of line. Nobody did that. That was so disappointing to me. You guys are all about the students. Where were you? Where were you when he was being attacked? You guys should all really be ashamed of yourself and think about that, because that was not okay. And I want to tell you, Daniel, we are so proud of you. You represent all of us. You are a role model, even to the adults that sit on this board. You are more of a role model than they are to you. You are mentoring them. And I want to tell you that physically, you will not have to deal with Soto anymore. We are so thankful for that. Thank you. Your time is up too.
Full disclosure, my name wasn't called, but I got my speaker card in at number 14, so before my time... Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. If there's any more, can you call them all and then I'll start?
Please go ahead and finish speaking.
Okay, well, I'm starting speaking now, so I hope my 2 minutes start there. I just wanted to take a second to say, let's go Dodgers, World Series champs. Had to get that in, sorry. Also, I wanted to introduce myself to Dr. Navarro. My name is Brandon Denise, and I'm the negotiations chair for the Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers. I often come up here, and one thing about me is I don't sugarcoat things, so sometimes I might seem like I'm combative, but that's more just I'm tired of a lot of like the lip service and empty resolutions. So that stuff gets under my skin, and it's never personal. I have the utmost respect for you. I hope that our board members who aren't here truly do have an excuse, and they're not just licking their wounds, but you know, you never know. We are currently in negotiations with the district, and I just want to express my appreciation for the people across the table from me. We have a lot of great people in this district, from teachers all the way up to management, and they're what makes this district tick. The students are what makes this district tick. It's not the board, so sometimes I feel like when you all get out of the way, great things happen. Like look at what's going on at PV with Mink Booker's class. I'm excited to join that. I know you guys like to give your updates of what you've done in between meetings, so I'll give a little bit of what I've done in between meetings. Yesterday, I was in Salinas joining the picket line for the UAPD. The physicians in Salinas are protesting, or we're on strike for better working conditions because they are currently at-will employees, and one of their doctors was fired for organizing their site into a union. So I want to say that just so that in case people don't know, labor, we need to stick together. The doctors need to stick with the teachers, who need to stick with the custodians. We all need to stick together because it's the labor that gets things done in our community. Thank you to all the candidates who did run for positions for school board. Congratulations on your victories. Condolences to your losses. That's my time, so let's go.
Ms. Garrett. Ms. Garrett. Yes.
Toxic sludge is good for you. Lies, damn lies, and the public relations industry. by John Stauber and Sheldon Rampton. The public relations industry is to be called propaganda. And we could say toxic pesticides are good for you. That's what's used in agriculture all over here. Toxic vaccines are good for you. It's a lie. You check what's in those vaccines. We are lied to all the time. Cell phones, telecommunications industry, radiating people and causing biological harm like cancer and a list of illnesses. Not good. Lies. Lies about Gaza and Palestine. You heard some of the truth disclosed today by Christine Hahn. Here's more truth. Muzzled Truth by Ronald Owens, how the California Department of Public Health rejected COVID-19 treatment and vaccine health risk warnings. Schools should be safe places. Kids should not be exposed to toxic exposure of any kind. I recommend this book highly, and we need to protect the health of the students and the staff by eliminating these toxic vaccines and the Wi-Fi and the radiation emitting devices. This book just came out recently, Muzzled Truth, how the California Department of Public Health...
Ms. Garrett, that is your time. Thank you. If you have anything you'd like to leave with us, you can leave it with staff at the front table. I will now move us to item 8, employee organization comments. This is the time that we hear from our employee organizations. 8.1, Ohio Valley Federation of Teachers. Do we have any public speakers to this item? We do not. Seeing none, is there anyone from PVFT here to speak?
Good evening, Board. Dr. Contreras. I'm Nelly Vaquera, President of the Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers. Changes are coming, I'd like to thank you for your time and providing the lessons on the importance of organizing and how deeply you have instilled that importance of organizing to our students and community. Daniel, again, I'm every time I'm like impressed. You do it with grace, and you're one of the most professional people on this stage. We work with the district on many things, and we communicate with our membership as best we can. This is a large district, and so of course there's always going to be issues that we need to address. And one of the most pressing ones that we have been working or advocating alongside our members for about the past month is the fact that the district during open enrollment contracted with American Fidelity to manage the enrollment in our health plans. The new health plan year started on October 1st. So at this point, our members, many employees of this district, are discovering that American Fidelity, in their confusing enrollment plan process, enrolled them incorrectly. They're either listed as the wrong gender, their family is no longer covered under their plan, and many of them now burdened with, you know how expensive healthcare is, thousands of dollars in healthcare bills. We should be receiving a summary plan description. None of that was provided. Anytime a modification is made on your plan, somebody's kicked off of it, you add somebody, you get a modified notice. That didn't happen. Our members and we ourselves, the PVFT, have been asking the district to help them pay these bills. But their response is, well, they're the ones that made the mistake.
So that is one very disappointing topic that has been affecting our membership, people who have been employed in this district for a long time, and that is how they're being treated. So we have members who have been negatively impacted by the unorganized decision to use American Fidelity. And this is a district that, with their new mission, that posits to cultivate a nurturing environment where our students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally, empowering them to flourish. But the modeling that they provide to the employees of this district speak otherwise. We need teachers. Yes, we are in a declining enrollment, and we might be looking at staffing for the upcoming year, but we still need teachers. We still need the professional staff. And when people see the reputation of this district and the lack of stepping up to actually support their employees, why would they want to come here? In the many places that we help our community for advocating for the things that are righteous for our community, I want to share with you all that one of the areas that the PVFT advocates on behalf of and under health and safety is the use of pesticides around our school district. And we have advocated heavily to minimize that. There is a screening Friday evening at the Watsonville Theater of some mini films made by locals and other folks regarding the life of working in agriculture. So we invite you to that. That starts at 6. And another thing that I want to talk about in regards to health and safety in our district and how we represent our members. We have members and support staff who are being injured or battling with behavior issues at our sites, and there is new law.
You could please put your comments into the superintendent.
Oh, I will, and I have.
We are now moving to 8.2, California
That needs to
School
be taken
Employees
care of, this law is
Association.
not
Do
being
we
followed.
have any public speakers to this item? Seeing none, we will now move to 8.3, Communication Workers of America. Do we have any public speakers to this item? Do we have anyone here from CWA? Seeing none, we will move to 8.4, Pajaro Valley Association of Managers. Do we have any public speakers to this item? We do. We have one. We'll take our public speaker first, Ms. Pugh.
Oh,
sorry. Chris Webb. Chris Webb.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment to thank my admin, Watson Baha'i, for how supportive they've been. I feel like they really care about the students, and I've come to really appreciate that over the years. Also, I know an email went out from the admin about like a shelter in place last week. I just want to say that I felt safe the entire time. I took that email as like, here's an admin that's just being precautious, and it's about something in the neighborhood, not really a school thing. So I wanted to just say that. And also, I don't even think the CS or the SRO was there, and I felt totally safe. I feel safe when I have supportive admin and strong school systems, and I feel like if I have those, I don't even need an SRO. Additionally, I also want to thank Julie Edwards and this board who commended, not that they had to approve, but they gave their blessing on the seal of civic engagement, and I think that was a good move. I think the way Julie's done it as well is good. I feel like it's consistent with other training we've had with ethnic studies. Also, I know facts are kind of out of fashion, but there was no anti-Semitism there. If somebody comes in a year and says it's anti-Semitic, I want to smash that down right now and say that's BS. Same way it was BS with the CRE contract. So those are totally good program. Also, that type of programming is the kind of thing that I firmly believe will actually generate real pride and engagement in our students. So more than like different superficial things, it's these tangible programming. I know like when I've had students come here in the past that I was more proud of them than any kind of superficial thing. And I know they appreciated commendations even from these trustees here about that. So I just wanted to say let's make sure we're investing in the right things, and it is consistent with the Sustainable Budget Team's finding of what is the biggest priority: academics. Thank you.
That is your time.
Good evening, Board President Acosta, Superintendent Dr. Contreras, Board of Trustees, and our Cabinet. My name is Peggy Pugh. I'm the Executive Director for Teaching and Learning. It has been an extremely busy fall for our PVUSD members, supporting our schools in so many ways, including in our attendance campaign. We are so grateful for the leadership of our site administrators and student services leaders who are embodying the work that they do every day to support our students' academic achievement through their positive attendance at school. We also want to take this opportunity to thank our wonderful leaders from maintenance and operations for all of the work that they do every single day to keep our sites safe and keep us all healthy as we move into this season. So thank you very much to our M&O leadership. An exciting highlight from our Career Technical Education Department, speaking of Julie Edwards, so far this year we have had over 120 students from all 3 of our comprehensive high schools engage in experiential learning with our fabulous partner, Joby Aviation. And we are just so grateful for that partnership that Julie has cultivated and the leaders at Joby for taking the care with our students. The experiences they're having is truly transformational. And then finally, in this election season, the Pajaro Valley Association of Managers wishes to share our gratitude for all those who are currently serving on our board and or have bravely thrown their hat in the ring to share your time, your efforts, and your talents in support of PVUSD students, staff, and families. We know that serving is an honor and a privilege, and we're grateful for your leadership.
Thank you, Ms. Pugh. We will now move to item 9, our consent agenda. These are consent items are routine items that come before the board. Do we have any public speakers to consent agenda?
We do. Martha Vega. Martha Vega 9.1 and Marilyn Garrett 9.6.
Good afternoon. I wanted to say my name is Martha Vega, and I inquired about the reason why you guys were holding the meeting here. It was walking into time. I'm glad you guys are here. I understand the City Council chambers was not available. And it was kind of neat. I only live a block away from Watsonville High. So the fact that you had the meeting there at Watsonville High, it just allows the residents to be able to walk and the families. It makes it easy for them, right? And I attended the school here, so I hadn't been here. And me and Alicia were having a discussion earlier about just flashback memories of how we participated in Color Guard on the stage, and knowing that it's not ADA, and so grateful that we had Measure MPAS, and so we'll be able to, promote construction and upgrades that is so needed. So. I want to be mindful of the time that I have. I wanted to take this time to say welcome, student trustee and Dr. Navarro, and to the new endeavors that you may have, trustee. And I wanted to thank Georgia. Thank you for your years and time of service, for advocating for us as teachers, supporting us in the raise and so many other causes, and time. This is a volunteer position, and I wanted to say thank you, and to everyone, and thank you, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Vega. Ms. Garrett?
Um, 9.6 on agriculture. I read through the brief description here on the detailed agenda, and with agriculture and mentoring, we really need to have ecological organic agriculture stressed and using of ecological methods to control pests. Years ago in this district, we started a group called Farm Without Harm. Such a concept. The pesticides drift over the schools. I have vivid memories of having to take my classroom children in from the playground at a Mesty school as they sprayed fumigated methylbromide next door, coughing and their eyes watering. Somebody actually looked at the number of teachers who had miscarriages at the school, and they were in the classrooms closest to these toxic fields. My last time in this very room was over 20 years ago, maybe 25. One of the teachers at this school had a Farm Without Harm member speak to her classroom about the dangers of pesticides and how we can grow things ecologically and non-toxically. In response, this teacher was reprimanded for doing something good. That's the moment that you get reprimanded for doing something to really educate. In response, the school district insisted on equal time to have the manufacturers of methylbromide in this room to do their presentation of how beneficial
Ms. Garrett, that's
the
your time.
toxic
Thank you.
pesticide was.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett.
So we need to have
Thank
it
you, Ms. Garrett, that's your
ecological.
time. Are there any items that the board wishes to defer from consent agenda? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by staff?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a first. A second. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? That'll carry 403. We will now move to item 11, our action items, starting with 11.1, District Strategic Goals, and this report will be presented by Superintendent of PVUSD Schools, Dr. Heather Contreras.
Good evening. At our last board meeting, I presented you with the district strategic goals that were created through cabinet, through our greater teaching and learning, through our leadership management of 130 managers, through each of the school sites, our curriculum council, PVFT, and CSEA all had input. At the presentation in the last board meeting, I asked for the board to provide any input for any revisions prior to asking for action on this. This would be new board policy, replacing the board policy that was last adopted in 2008. So you have before you the old goals from 2008, and then the new goals are also as an attachment, and these are the ones that were part of the presentation from our last meeting. I made 2 revisions upon request. One was that by popular demand, mainly from our teachers, was to include verbiage around multilingual education as a district strategic goal, and so that's been included. The other was by board members to ensure that this was a student-centered set of action, and so we made sure that students and language around students was infused within the district strategic goals to help make sure that we were focused at all times, that every action we take together as a community is for the students. And so that is the presentation for this evening around the district strategic goals.
Thank you, Dr. Contreras. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do. We have 2, Chris Webb and Brandon Denise.
Good evening. Up to goal 1B, I just want to say I really agreed with that goal. It's also, we want to make sure that when we notify families, it has to, like I spoke to this a little bit before my original public comment, we got to make sure that our notification, like meet the families where they're at. So like, you can't do like the auto dialer for everybody. And, I'm really big on, you said this at day one of the PD, like at PV, relationships. All right, that's why I say the advisor model works, because there you actually have relationships. Speaking of Renaissance, in that particular model, you have relationships with the families, and you know like who's going to come and like who you can reach out to and different things that are happening. So I'm all for that goal. Also, goal 1D sounded consistent with the seal of civic engagement. There was another goal that I was looking at, and I think it was about kind of uniform curriculum. My only concern with that is I know over the hill, there's a district a little bit bigger than this one that has sometimes problems where it has like a one-size-fits-all model. And so that's one of my concerns if we just like go too uniform on the curriculum. Also, I'm reflecting on like recent PDs. So like, with the seal of civic engagement, Watsonville High was well represented there. But even there, like my whole department wasn't there. And then like, I would feel weird imposing on other colleagues across the district saying like, oh, I wanted this, so you should have to do it too, especially if I'm taking my own time to do it. So I just want to be cautious about how we do the uniform curriculum. I understand the intent, trying to maintain like equity of education for everyone. I think that's a valid goal. I think all these are very good. That's just my one biggest concern, is that we don't become one size fits all and we still leave room for teacher autonomy and style. There's value in working with one student. There's going to be kids that I work with well that another teacher does. So we can make allowances for that. Thank you.
All right, well, I wasn't planning on speaking again tonight, but seeing the way that Georgia's treating the public and including our union president really inspired me to come up and speak. It would be nice if the board president could show a little patience and composure. I want to speak to this item because I believe that these goals do have a place in guiding our school sites, but again, if we don't actually put the work in to ensure they're being implemented, they're just empty words on a page, and you should know by now how much that bothers me. So what my colleague was about to speak on before Georgia cut her off was goal number 3, to prioritize safety and social and emotional well-being to create a supportive learning and working environment. Our members have the right under Ed Code section 48900 to receive a response from their administrator when they refer a student for a behavior issue. We have had members who have been physically pushed by students, and the administrator at that site did absolutely nothing. They did not communicate to the member what restorative actions were taken. They did not make any restorative action. So if you're an elementary student at that school, you have free reign to just push your teacher out of the way. We have elementary students threatening to shoot other students. And the response is, well, you should talk to the parents about that. That is not the appropriate response. And again, we have great administrators. I don't want to seem like I'm bagging on the administrators, but what I want to say is we filed a grievance to be able to have an informal step 1, here's the Ed Code, here's what should happen, here's our remedy. And the district puts up a stonewall and says, well, you can't grieve that because it's Ed Code and it's not in our contract. But we can file a complaint with the state if you'd rather go down that route. So when we have these goals, we agree safety is of the utmost importance, and we want to be able to work with our sites and work with our administrators to ensure that safety is being taken serious, because that's the number one thing. You can't learn if you're not safe. So thank you.
For questions, comments, and deliberation. Any questions or comments and deliberation from the board? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to approve? Sure, yeah, I wasn't hearing your response, so.
Sorry.
No worries.
It's been a long 15 months. So, can you just talk a little bit about your plan to implement these? These are the goals, and I see some operationalizing ideas
ideas about how that will be implemented, but maybe talk about because I know this was a lot of work, that there was a lot of input from stakeholders all over the district, including, I think, students. But can you just talk about your vision a little bit?
Yes, so these are more of the umbrella or guiding goals, and inside of each of those goals are more strategic goals like action plans. Actually, some of our sites have already submitted, here's some things that can be done to help reach these goals. So from those goals will be the specific things that we start to target, and you'll notice that they are 3-year goals. So where will we be in 1 year, and then in 2 years, and in 3 years? And then we'll be messaging our progress on those goals and the specific actions we're engaging in 3 times a year with the board. So presentations will come from different people, probably assistant superintendents and those they work with, on the progress and the specific actions that we've taken to meet the district's strategic goals. If there's things that need to be adapted along the way, then we'll make those recommendations at that time as well.
Any other questions? I'd make a motion to approve if there aren't any.
I'll accept your motion. Are there any other questions, comments, deliberation? This item was fully presented at the last board meeting as a report and discussion, but if there are any other questions or comments or deliberation, now's the time. See, now I've got a first. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and I have a second. With that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? That'll carry 4-0-3. Thank you, Dr. Contreras. Now 11.2, approve a variable term waiver for certificated employee. This report will be presented by our interim assistant superintendent of human resources, Ms. Angelica Renteria. Oh, you don't look like Ms.
I am not Angelica. I'm a little taller. Good evening, President Acosta, Superintendent Dr. Contreras, and members of the board. My name is Brian Saxon. I'm the Director of HR for Certificated. And I'm here tonight to request your approval for what's called a variable term waiver for Ian Parker Marquise Swindle, who's teaching Spanish. This has to go as an action item. This waiver is approved by the county. We work closely with them to make sure Parker's met all the requirements. And he's 1 class away from being eligible for his intern, so this gets us the necessary time for him to be finish that class and then get his intern from the program he is in. So we request your approval and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saxton. Any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for questions, comments, and deliberation. Questions? To surplus?
Okay.
Can you just talk a little bit about the difficulty in finding a Spanish teacher?
Yeah, there are not a lot of them. In this case, Parker happens to be the son of a former world language teacher at Aptos High, Terry Marquise, who taught French and Spanish and all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of fun. He came to us and he was like, I want to move back to the area, and I'm in this program, and I'm eligible for, these certain emergency credentials. So again, we work closely with the county, but yes, they are difficult to find. We put some hard work into it this year. So they actually, Aptos High hired 3 new Spanish teachers this year. And so we've been pretty lucky in finding, we've attended a lot of job fairs and things, but yeah, they are difficult to find. So when we get them, we like to make sure we do what we can to keep them.
Right, and since we have a new board member, can you just talk about what a waiver is and,
Yeah, so the process is, Parker is in an intern program, and he has already had 2 of our emergency permits. They're called a short-term staff permit and a provisional internship permit called STIPs and PIPs. And so when we worked with the county, we were trying to figure out what could we do. He has this 1 class, he's done at the end of November. We just need this little short window. And so Scott Hill if you ever see Scott Hill, you should pat him on the back for as much as he helps us find ways to get our teachers in the door who have one little piece left. He found out that if you, Parker's 2 emergency permits were in PE, so if you've never had a waiver in the subject now that he wants to teach, which is Spanish, that was the hole that got us in so he could get this variable term waiver to teach and finish his intern class, become intern eligible, and then get on the intern track to get his full Spanish credential so that we can keep him here in the area and keep him at Aptos High School.
So he has a teaching credential already?
He does not. He's in the intern program, so at the end of November, he'll be eligible to have an intern credential via National University.
That's great.
Yeah.
And the waiver is filed with the state of California so that we have a non-credentialed teacher on campus, but there's a waiver to allow that to happen.
Correct. So this counts as an emergency credential, which gives him all the rights and privileges of a clear credential person in the teaching area.
For a limited amount of time.
For 1 year. Yeah. So, well, in this case, about 10 months. So, yeah, there's numerous ways that a teacher can teach without a clear or preliminary credential. You can have emergency permits, a waiver, an intern, and this is just one of the ways. We don't use these very often. They come up in certain circumstances. Happens to be this one we're in is one of the few. I've only done a few of them in my 4 years, so they're kind of a last resort. So, yeah, we were very excited. Dr. AHS over at Aptos High was also very excited that we didn't have to ask Parker to leave. So, and so was Parker. He was very excited.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Are all questions satisfied? Do you have any additional questions, Trustee Dr. Navarro? Are you good? No. Good. Thank you. So we have a first. Can I have a second?
Wait a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
That's me.
Okay, so I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will carry 403. Thank you, Mr. Saxton.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving to item 11.3, our SWIN math contract. This report will be presented by our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction and Professional Development, Ms. Montes.
Good evening, and thanks, Brian, for raising the microphone for me. Tall people. Good evening. My name is Claudia Mocaraz. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction. Good evening, Board President Costa, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Contreras. So, yes, I am here to talk about SWAN math, and it does, okay, push a button here. No, that's not it. There it is. All right, so here's our vision and mission. So, just as a reminder that our vision is every student will graduate ready to share their unique skills and abilities and be a positive contributing member of the community and their world. So our mission statement to go along with that, we're committed to cultivating a nurturing environment where every student strives academically, socially, emotionally, empowering them to flourish in a dynamic and evolving world. SWAN Math would align with our goal number 1, which is about raising overall academic achievement for all students, and I stress that all in there as we go through this. Last board meeting, you heard from our assessment coordinator. He brought forward the latest data on CASP and our SBAC data. And so I pulled this slide out just kind of as an anchoring reminder of where we are in math and how over the last 2 years in SBAC, you can see we haven't really grown. It's stayed the same. And so in looking at this, we know that we need to do a lot of work in improving our math instruction across the district. Part of this is looking at particularly our CSI schools, which is, I almost forget what CSI, Comprehensive Support and Improvement Schools. So we do have 3 schools that are willing to jump on board, 3 CSI schools who are willing to jump on board with looking at how they're going to change their math instruction beginning this school year. And I'll tell you who they are in just a minute. So as we go through this, bringing in SWAN would, for teachers, there would be some monthly support for them around demonstration lessons, co-planning, co-teaching. There's lesson studies, grade level and staff meeting support, and also data analysis support. There are trainings, and we would be doing that through subs. We would be pulling out the teachers from the classroom on rotations to be able to work with the trainers. They would be focusing in on the interactive lesson design, which I'll go a little bit more into detail in a few minutes. And then the instructional strategies, which is going to be one of our big things. Also mathematical practices, and then curriculum mapping and making sure that we're staying in line with standards and piecing in assessments. On the principal side of this, because if we're going to do a shift, it needs to be not just the teachers, it has to be the whole school together. So that means the administration gets involved in the training as well, so that they know how to do ongoing support for their teachers. So the Swan Math Company would also be working with principals around monthly support. They would be meeting not just with the teachers, but with the administrators as well. Very similarly aligned work with them, along with trainings for the administrators as well. So it's not just the support meetings, but the principals and academic coordinators would also be getting trained. So how their lesson design works, because yes, we do have current math adoption curriculum. However, doing this process is more than just getting a new curriculum. The benefit of us going down the road of bringing Swan Math into the schools is it's actually a change in practice and a change in teaching strategies when we're working with math. And we know that our teachers are working very, very hard, and I know it's really frustrating when they see that the progress is not going the way that they want. So in talking with the schools, the administrators were able to discuss it with their teachers. They looked at the data, they had the discussion, is this something we want to do? So the 3 schools that are doing this as a site. And they did have the opportunity to look through these slides from Swan and look at the interactive lesson design piece. It is research-based, it is standards-based. There's mathematical practices that go on within the lessons, and there's also EL strategies and academic language development that happen within the training and within the lessons. One of the differences between how the math is taught in this model that's different from what we're currently doing is the discovery portion of the lesson design. It is an inquiry-based model. So there is a lot of that, what is the students curious about, doing the investigation, using a lot of application of the math practices, which with our current program, that's not exactly a strength. All right, so the curriculum is available TK through grade 8. We are looking at 2 elementary schools who would like to implement this as part of their CSI plan and 1 middle school. So it would be the math department within the middle school and then the entire school for the elementaries. And as you can see here, these are just some of the components that come as part of the curriculum. We could do, one of the options that the SWAN does offer is that you can just do the training around the teaching practices and inquiry-based learning, and they can do that process with curriculum that we have in place, or we could choose to go down the road where we use their materials as well. And the sites did choose to use SWAN's materials, so that's what they're going to be implementing it with. So it'll just be one package altogether. The assessments, there are assessments available as well, just like with any other curriculum part of the training that's going to be happening. There are unit assessments, there's the pre-test, the post-test, all the formative pieces that would need to be in place as they go through. The really big advantage to this is that they are SBAC aligned questions, so, and they are available online, and for the younger grades, it is paper pencil. So for our littles, it's not the clicking, it's the writing piece that is available for them. All right, so then the schools. Which are the schools? Drum roll. We have Hyde Elementary, McQuitty, and Cesar Chavez are our 3 schools who are wanting to implement and begin training. It would begin in December. And then just a side note, SWAN is not an acronym, it's actually the founder's last name. So, I did get asked that question when we were talking with some of our administrators. What does SWAN stand for? It's his name. So, all right.
Thank you, Ms. McKevin. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do. Bill Beecher.
While he's bringing that up, I'll remind you that math is a foreign language. It's abstract. Most of you on this board had a hell of a time going through school. You hated math. Most people do. There are a few exceptions. My wife was one of them as well. But I think this is a wonderful program. It's a classic way to approach it, but it's looking at all the wrong places. What do I mean by that? Many of our students are actually doing fine, and I'll show you that. There is one large group that's pulling the district down, and you'll see that. Rather than providing a solution across the whole spectrum, we should correct the problem group. So let's take a look at the numbers. This is the number who meet or exceed the standard, state standard. Whites are above the California, that's the C, yellow. Hispanics, leaving out English language learners, are doing okay, not great. But 43% of our students are English language learners. 43%. They're half of the Hispanic population. That's pulling down our math. So how's this program going to fix the 43% problem? You can't. So, what's the cure? We should have a 1 to 2 year transition to English. This is what's being done at the best Hispanic schools that I've studied in our state. And they've been doing it, and they've maintained high academic performance for over 15 years. We could do it too, but we're not. So the challenge is the teachers who believe that bilingual education is working. It's not. And for you, the school board, is to recognize the failure of the bilingual education program and the need to change it, to require 1 to 2 year transition to English so that these kids, how can you teach math and English to people who struggle at Spanish? And that's 43% of the population. Let's get smart. Thank you.
I'll bring us back to the board for questions, comments, and deliberation. Any questions, comments, or deliberation from the board? Trustee DeSerpa.
Yeah. For a while, a couple of years ago, we were using an online program. I think I remember at PMS and Lakeview, maybe some other places. That was called Alex.
Yep.
And I thought we had a lot of promising results there. Was that right? Am I remembering?
It did show some growth. There were some limitations to it, but it did show some growth, especially. And I think at the time we were using that, I think it had to do with, we were having some staffing issues at the time. And so it gave us the opportunity to make sure that kids were getting access to some of the instruction that they might have missed otherwise. But yeah, it gave us a little bit of growth, but the piece that was missing was more of the one-to-one, the actual direct instruction from the teacher.
So why did we curtail that if it was showing growth? Like, why didn't we continue to expand and use that? Like, I was surprised actually when I saw this on the agenda because I just assumed that had carried it forward.
So it wasn't an all-inclusive program, and wasn't one of the ones that we would have been able to adopt as an adopted curriculum. So we needed to have one that was actually approved by
a state.
I see. Yeah, and so they did go through middle school, did go through a math adoption, and pretty recently, like last year. So actually the year before. So it's actually pretty recent on that end. But as you can see, it's still, I mean, as a district, we've flatlined.
So help me understand, like, I mean, I heard your presentation, I read it ahead of time, but help me understand how this is going to work. Like, Dr. Contreras, have you seen this work in your other district, or can somebody give us some hope?
Yes, I think there is hope. So Cy Swan, if you do some research about him, was a classroom teacher himself who developed this methodology of teaching that was very successful. His story talks about learning it from his aunt who taught in another country. And he started having great success with his students in his classroom, so much so that during CST testing, the state came to proctor his class because they thought that there was cheating occurring in the classroom because the test scores were so good. And so there was no cheating. It was really because of the instruction that was happening in the classroom. So he was then given an opportunity in Garden Grove to begin coaching other teachers to get similar results. And he, alongside of those teachers, started developing this coaching model. At the same time, the curriculum was also continuing to be developed. From there, the success at Garden Grove spurred greater success for him, and his name got out there, and he was recruited to do the similar process for Long Beach Unified School District. Long Beach Unified School District began having great success with their math and with this model, and then Cy Swan grew his programming to help other districts. And more than an entrepreneur, and what I appreciate about Cy Swan is he's a practitioner. He's a teacher, and he just wants to see students reach success in math. And so his whole model is predicated upon a coaching model, a side-along, and the idea that once there's been some deep work together and in collaboration with teachers, that he steps out and the district is able to continue along the way. I've worked right alongside with Cy many, many years and months, and directly with teachers, directly with principals, and it is embraced by teachers because they feel supported in a content area that can be challenging to teach. And so it generally has success both from the teacher end, having and feeling this support, through the success of the students that continues to grow. And some of the things that are embedded and a little bit different in his model, one is that you can't just take this one curriculum and do that. That's not, we're not adopting a program that here it is. You're adopting a coaching model. They will not work in a district that doesn't adopt that. And so the teachers, that's why we really ask the teachers, are you interested in this? It's up to you. We gave free choice. We did bring this forward to all of our comprehensive support schools to see if they were interested, and it was the 3 that wanted to move forward, and the rest, that's fine. Maybe down the road they'll want to see that, but it does show success for students, and it is very promising.
Okay, so that is actually one of the reasons I was so interested in hiring you, because I know that your math scores in your district, which has a very similar demographic, were much higher than ours. So let's hope more schools will jump on board. And then while we're on the math topic, I was remiss to thank Granite Rock and the Bruce Wolpert Academy for continuing to offer their Algebra Academy. We used to have CSUAB and UCSC professors come here and tell us that our kids were not ready, that they needed remediation in math. What can we do about it? And Bruce Wolpert, worked with them and did this Algebra Academy that made math fun for kids to learn. And when they got that spark, it really helped. Yeah. So anyway,
and we're still doing.
Yeah. Except, I wanted to ask something, because I did not see Aptos Junior High included on that list, and I don't understand why.
I can investigate why.
Yeah, would you? Because there's like all the other middle schools and juniors and not Aptos High or junior. And we have a lot of kids there that come from the Freedom area and
yeah, they can look into that much.
I'd like them to be included per usual. But anyway, thank you to Granite Rock and the Wolpert family for continuing to thank you. Trustee Dr. Navarro?
Yes, first of all, I just wanted to mention to Mr. Beecher that I'm 100% in agreement with what you're saying. Math is completely a foreign language. And if you've ever read the Malcolm Gladwell book about how the fact that in English you have to learn the name of a number before you can learn what to do do and mentally manipulate the number is why a lot of Asian countries have much higher math scores than we do, because the word for the number is 2 times 6 or 100, 2 times 4. And so, you know, in English we have to learn the name of the number before we can even learn to manipulate it in our head. That being said, if you have an English second language student, they're learning, they know Spanish, they're not learning math in Spanish, they're learning English, and then they're trying to learn math. And so my question is, like, are we considering, you know, when kids are moving here that don't speak English, are we giving them specifically math instruction in their native language? And, or is there any online resources, apps, things that we can do to supplement outside the classroom? Because, you know, one of the things I loved, my kids were in Montessori when they were younger. One of the things I loved about Montessori is that it's a lot of hands-on manipulation with math, and kids that go to Montessori actually tend to do really well in math because there's a lot of, you know, hands-on visual materials for them to manipulate these really abstract concepts before developmentally they're able to manage abstract concepts. So I just would like to learn a little bit more about that.
Do you want me to start? I can start.
You could start and I'll finish.
And then, okay. So yes, we do have International Academy in middle school. It is something that we have been in talks for. I'm looking over here at Mr. Berman because this is his baby. But it is something that we have talked about as a district about possibly expanding out further. I know we've started looking at Watsonville High. We have some courses over there as well. So yes, when newcomers are coming, they have the option to go into the International Academy for 2 years. And during that time, they do get that transitional language instruction that you're talking about. I was actually just in one of the classrooms, we went last week, I think, to go visit, it was a math class. And so we were able to see the students actually working on the vocabulary of math along with the concepts of it. So we do offer that. At the elementary level, it's a little bit different. We do have newcomers that are coming in at elementary, pretty much, you know, all the grades. And so that's where a lot of the math interventions can come into play for our students. Designated ELD time is one of those times where we can address the language, vocabulary language. Designated ELDs are designated English language development time of the day. So, yeah.
Well, one of the problems that I see with that is by the time you've gotten to middle school, you're way behind the ball. So what are we doing as like the kindergarten, first grade level?
So kindergarten, I'll let you go ahead.
So we do have sheltered English immersion classrooms as well as opportunities for bilingual education and dual language education, which is simultaneously both. So we try to shelter the instruction and have strategies to support our English learners embedded from the time they're little and all the way up. For this curriculum specifically, there is an English language development component that's focused on math and supporting English language learners through math. And some of the assessments that are embedded within really track how the English learners are doing so that immediate reteaching or pre-teaching can be built into the lessons.
Thank you. I know that you're fairly new to the district and that you identify this too as a big problem, but I think maybe trying to do more at the kindergarten, first grade level, because by the time you've gotten to middle school, if you haven't figured out the math, you're likely to be catching up yourself. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Right. Seeing no other further questions or comments or deliberation from the board, can I have a motion to approve? That was Trustee Dr. Navarro. Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? That will, any noes?
Thank
I'm sorry,
you.
I did say that. I'm sorry, that will carry 403. Thank you, Ms. Montes. And now we will move to item 12, our report and discussion items, and item 12.1, our sustainable budget team report. This report will be presented by Superintendent of PVUSD Schools, Dr. Contreras, and our CBO, Ms. Kim.
Thank you. So we had our sustainable budget team meeting number 5. Up on the screen is the PowerPoint that was used for our sustainable budget team number 5. We have 24 people on the team. They continue to come week after week, giving up their Wednesdays that aren't board meeting Wednesdays, spending 2 hours with us as we review different aspects of our budget. We have taken the budget in bits and pieces as we've examined and provided information. We are still at the providing information stage of the sustainable budget team. And this last presentation, we reviewed staffing ratios. You might remember in our special study session, we had Scott Siegel, a consultant, come and speak with us about budget. One of the recommendations that he had was to look at our staffing ratios and establish them in many different departments and areas, and so we're beginning that work. Right now, like I said, it was information only. We're not making any recommendations yet. And the staffing ratios in particular that we examined were maintenance and operations, including our groundspeople, our tradesmen, our custodial staff. We looked at how our sites were staffed, like what is the expectation for administration, for clerical support, for yard duty supervision, for our teachers, and ratios of teachers to students. We also looked at some of our site-based programming that also determines ratios, and that would include our intervention teachers as well as our teacher release programming. It was a really positive meeting. Our team is outstanding, very thoughtful. They often have follow-up questions or homework that we bring back. This last time we were asked to bring back staffing information around district office personnel, so probably anyone outside the classroom that touches educational processes and provides support. So we'll be bringing that at our next meeting. Our sustainable budget team meeting number 6 will be next Wednesday. And next Wednesday's meeting will include a homework assignment that we gave to our team to look at innovation and education. One of the things we talk about frequently is that in addressing our budget, declining enrollment, and sunsetting ESSER dollars, is we don't always have to think of it in terms of what goes away, but we can also think of what innovative programs and ideas might we build into our programming that can attract people to our district as well. So we're excited for that. We are getting closer to the time where we will be looking at the recommendations that will come forward to the board in January. But we are not yet at the problem-solving stage of our model, so we still are in the information providing and gathering. We want to give a huge heartfelt thanks to all the people who continue to be a part of our sustainable budget team, because without them we wouldn't have the thoughtful input that I think we all believe as a board is necessary for this process. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Contreras. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
Yes, we do. Chris Webb.
Thank you, Dr. Contreras, for bringing this item, and to the entire team for all their work. I do have 2 children, ages 3 and 6, and when I consider programming for them, I prioritize bilingual education. My son is already in a bilingual program. If I were to move him schools to this district, which I've considered before, it would only be if it was in a bilingual program. And same for my daughter, who doesn't even start school yet. Also, it would have to work with my school schedule. I think it's notable, the understaffing of M&O, and I want to commend them on the great work they do in spite of being short-staffed. And I would want to say I would oppose any kind of staffing cuts in order to spray Roundup. I'd rather have the staff and no cancer than the Roundup. So I just want to put that out there. Also, when I look at the CASP data from the last board meeting and the dashboard data from that last SBT meeting, I feel affirmed in my commitment to advocating for the restoration of model continuation Renaissance structures in order to promote academic achievement, attendance, and mitigate behavior concerns. And I also want to thank the team member who asked to see CASP data from during the model continuation time, like basically pre-COVID. I would like to see that data as well. And also, additionally on that same note, I want to thank Nellie for bringing up the point about academic counselors. I know in that same time period, at Renaissance at least, it was college and career stuff that they mainly handled, and it was the advisors who dealt more with the scheduling. And I feel like it's been a mistake to get away from that because you've lost personalization, and then there's sometimes cases where a kid doesn't get their schedule and then they quit coming. So there's also, it was just more personalized and it was more catered. I think you need that for a school like that. So I would say we should relook at some of that. Also, I think Daniel Dodge was right about the lack of buy-in when it comes to students taking those tests. Thank you.
All right, now I will bring this back to the board for any questions, comments, and deliberation from the board. Any questions, comments, or deliberation from the board? All right, seeing none, this is a non-action item. So with that, I will move us forward to item 14.1. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for December 11th. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 9:10 p.m.